And hello, good morning, everybody, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for waiting. I'm hopeful that you can all see me. Apologies for the fact that I have to look like an air traffic controller, but the last minute problems with my sound on my computer. But anyway, before we officially start, I need to let you know that we are recording this meeting. That's so that we can actually have it available on our website for those people who can't make this morning. But it is an absolute pleasure that so many of you have taken the time to attend this morning and to hear about the work of the Marches Local Enterprise Partnership. This is a meeting to reflect on what we've achieved over the past 12 months and to start to consider those challenges that we have over the next 12 months or so that we have in front of us. It's a pleasure, though, that is tinged with sadness. 12 months ago, when I was appointed to my position as the chair of the Marches LEP, none of us could have imagined what was lying in wait for us. None of us could have imagined that we wouldn't be able to meet in person at events like this, and none of us would have imagined the terrible toll that coronavirus has taken on our business community. Today is the start of our Marches Business Recovery Week, and we're going to talk more about what lies in store and what that means later. But before I say anything else, I want to start by paying tribute to the phenomenal business community that we have here across Herefordshire, Shropshire and Telford and Wrekin. The fortitude, the courage, the tenacity that so many have shown over the past 6 months or so from when this dreadful virus has threatened so many of their companies has been nothing short of incredible, and it's truly inspirational. Our business's ability to respond to adversity with innovation, creativity, and that real passion to survive has been a remarkable reminder to us all that our businesses are the backbone of this great region, and it's one of the things that makes the Marches so special. I've seen companies across the Marches respond to the crisis by setting up PPE manufacturing centres within a matter of days, some entrepreneurs pivoting their businesses to meet new demands, and retailers and restaurateurs working with the restrictions to ensure that their customers continue to get the best possible service. It's the sort of response which has reminded me and my colleagues at the LEP every day of how this region punches well above its weight with a £14.3 billion economy that we can all be really proud of. But I've also seen the dreadful impact that the virus has had on our business community. Otherwise flourishing tourism and leisure companies have seen their income completely dry up through no fault of their own. Our visitor economy has been devastated as people stay at home, and our town centres and nighttime economy have never endured such difficult times. I just want to say this, I'm a businesswoman myself. To all of those businesses that have suffered at the hands of this virus, both I, the board, and the whole of the Marches Local Enterprise Partnership, working with our colleagues in the public sector, our 3 local authorities, we will do everything in our power to help you. Because it's these businesses who will remain right at the forefront of our thinking, our strategy, and our actions over the coming 12 months. It's for these businesses that we're staging this special Business Recovery Week. We know that uncertain times still lie ahead. We know, in fact, we may well know more this morning, that there could be further restrictions as we head into and beyond winter. We do know that the virus is far from beaten and that many businesses are struggling to survive the next 12 days, let alone the next 12 months. But we also know that without a plan, without a strategy, none of us will be able to recover effectively as we might. The Marches LEP's role in that recovery is clear. We exist to drive forward the economic growth and prosperity of all parts of this region and all of our communities. We need to ensure that business has the infrastructure and the support to succeed, that our workforce has the skills to flourish, and that our youngsters have the training and education needed to find the high value jobs that we are working to create. Today, we're launching our annual report, and we're also staging our annual public meeting. Our report shows that the Marches LEP is leading the region's recovery and rebuilding programme. We're working with our business community and our public sector partners to target resources where they're most needed, and we are lobbying our local MPs, our regional and national government for the support that is required across the Marches. Our report demonstrates the huge investment that we're making in all corners of the Marches to create the conditions for business to flourish, whether that be helping to fund the remarkable transformation of the Shell store in Hereford into an amazing, fantastic business incubation centre, whether it's the re-imaging of the Pride Hill shopping centre in the heart of Shrewsbury, or the incredibly pioneering Nye Park in Telford and Wrekin, which will become a hotbed of innovation in the next few years. These are all projects that have come to fruition or are coming to fruition through the funding that the Marches LEP has helped to generate. As a LEP, we will continue to invest in the modern infrastructure that we need to compete, the dynamic skills that we require in an increasingly digital world, the sustainable technology that will help protect our planet for future generations, and the innovation that will drive the prosperous future that we all wish for. And we will do so with our partners across the business community, the public sector, and colleagues in education and training, because we know that working together, by collaborating, by working in partnership, we can ensure a flourishing future for many years to come. Now, before we hear from our LEP Chief Executive, Jill Hamer, about the work of the LEP in the last year, we'd like to show you a short video which reflects on the progress, but also highlights our ambition for this amazing LEP region.
Morning everybody, and welcome to our event this morning. It's a great pleasure to actually just set out what we've achieved in the last year, but also we will be looking forward and where we can work together with you going forward. If you could just bring up my first slide, Amy, that would be great. I've just got a few just to kind of take us through a few things and a prompt to really highlight the key aspects of our annual report that Mandy's mentioned is being launched today. And all being well, it's up there on the website, so you can download it as soon as possible. Just wanted to take us on a bit of a kind of look of what we've achieved, and then this is just one of these slides of what we are planning to do going forward, as I say. So just a reminder for those who are not that familiar with the Marches LEP area, this is what was with the huge geography, with the largest LEP in the country in geography terms, but by March 21, the LEP has attracted from central government over £120 million since 2015, and they're not forgetting the fact that we've also, this area has benefited from about 70 to 80 million in EU funds to support and distributing grants and loans and training to our businesses across our area. So we have had a lot of capital investment through the government, and then we've now also got a revenue stream to help with, as I say, more business support aspects of this. But this is coming to an end at the end of this year, as you will all know, with the exit of the EU. Next slide, please, Amy. I did just want to remind people, again, if you're not that familiar with the LEP, we do have a very strong board that manages the funding that I've just outlined and oversees it, and that does include Mandy, who became our chair last year, plus the 3 leaders of the local authorities. And then the board of 15 includes 10 private sector members, and that includes higher education and further education representatives, plus Sonia Roberts, our deputy chair, representing the voluntary sector. We were asked by the government to make sure we have a diverse board, and we have now 6 female board members, but we're continuing on that journey and looking at ensuring both our subgroups and our board will and continue to have a good mix and represent the whole of the community of the Marches. Just as a reminder as well, the government required us, and I think it's a positive, in relation to us becoming a company limited by guarantee. And we signed off, the board signed off our first set of audited external accounts. Again, these are up on our website, so you can have a look at those to make sure people understand the money that is being allocated and used by the LEP that contributes to a wide range of projects across our area. And equally, just as in case people aren't aware, our board meetings, members of the public can join them as observers, and we do attend scrutiny panels at the 3 local authorities. So just to be clear, we do make sure that as much as possible people can see and have an overview of the investments that the LEP is making, the LEP board is making, with the government funds that it's in receipt of. Next slide, please. Just want to kind of look at, we launched in 2019 an updated economic plan, and again you can download that from our website. It has a huge amount of data sitting behind it, and we have an area on our website with a lot of data in it, which demonstrates our economic challenges there. I'm not going to read them out. Many of you who are on the screens will be familiar with those. But with current economic downturn, many of those will almost be exacerbated and made worse as a consequence. And the one thing we've not been challenged with since I've been in my role in 2015 is high levels of unemployment. And we are aware and are watching the data to show that there will be increasing levels of unemployment in our area. And we will need to look at how we can tackle that and move things forward. Next slide, please. Just want to look at what we've done in 2020 and the funding. You've just seen the excellent video that we've put together in the last few days, and that will also be going up on our website, so people can have a look at that again shortly. Just to show, in our final year of local growth funding, we've got quite a large year of investments, 38.8 million going into 16 projects. Those projects are outlined in our annual report, but I'm just giving you a taster there of the kind of spread of those projects. Being an Oswestry resident myself, or near resident, I'm chuffed to see finally that the Innovation Park, with the great support of Shropshire Council leading that project, to really get underway. And I will say this, that the LEP attracts the funding, but it actually the delivery partners, the people that deliver the projects, who've got the real hard work. That includes our local authority partners, universities and colleges, and other providers that are delivering them. The LEP attracts the funding for them. Getting building funds was a new one for us only in July. We did actually secure 14 million through to January 22, but in this financial year we will be investing 7 million, again across a range of projects. The Prime Minister wanted the projects that were shovel ready and ready to be built and had planning permissions, so that did narrow the ability to attract projects, but we got a good set of 7 projects in the end, and again many of them being delivered through our local authority partners, so thank you to them in stepping forward and finding the match funding, of course, don't forget that. And it really, a number of innovative ones, and I highlight the one in particular from Wrekin Housing, looking at testing new energy technologies for housing, because we do suffer in this area with fuel poverty, and this will really look at trying to challenge that, and we hope this project will be able to be rolled out across our area in due course. Next slide, please. As well as capital funding and investment in the infrastructure, we have also had a range of revenue funds available. The board took the brave step in July to allocate 1.58 million from our Marches Investment Fund, from recycled funds, to allocate to businesses severely affected. And don't forget what it was like in February and March across the Marches, with some of our key towns flooded very badly and businesses already put out of business before COVID actually hit us. And I just want to highlight one project, which again, the LEP board, along with the Telford Land Deal board, took the decision to use some revenue funds there to support in particular our key tourism attraction in the Marches, and that was recognised by all board members, Ironbridge Gorge Museum Trust, because they had literally lost a number of their assets through flooding, and clearly had no visitors before that because of flooding. I do want to bring remind people that we still have a fantastic Marches Growth Hub acting as a gateway and managing many of those EU funds in funded supported programmes. 17.5 million there, you can see, has been supporting projects across our area in a different range of grant schemes and initiatives. And not surprisingly, our 3 growth hubs, the physical hubs, again led by our local authorities with support from the universities in our area, have handled that many calls and that many emails in that short a time. They really had, that was like a trebling of their normal inquiries and requests for support. So quite a challenge for them. We obviously also have the excellent Marches LEP Growth Hub website, and that is there, and that is refreshed literally daily with new initiatives and updates. So do look out for that. And not forgetting skills. We've been working in the background bringing forward a new microsite, and we will be shortly developing the Marches Career Hub to really work with schools and colleges to deliver careers support, which is well overdue in this area. Next slide, please. So finally, just planning for the future. We are, I feel, as a LEP, with the board and the support of all of the partners across the area, we already have a wealth of data and knowledge to build our evidence base and continue to make the case to London, to ministers, of what we need in relation to support. We have a range of other strategies, tourism, digital, innovative healthcare, to name but a few. Again, they're available for anybody to use. Any bidding opportunities, do look out for those to help underpin your business cases to anybody that you're bidding into for lottery funding or whatever. That evidence base is there. Contact me and my team if you can't find it. We'll try and put you in touch with any data that we can help you to bid for over the next 6 to 12 months to really put forward new business cases for support for this area. And just to say we will be producing a recovery plan through the board with partners over the next 6 to 12 months to again make sure that Whitehall and our local MPs are very aware of the challenges that is coming up through our business base and is being identified through our partners and with our board. Mandy and I and Sonia only actually spoke to 5 of our Marches MPs on Friday to give them advance notice of this activity. So we will be engaging with them, and they wanted that engagement going forward. So that's enough from me. I'm just going to hand over to my last slide to remind people where you can find all of the things I've been referencing on you annual report. Do sign up for our newsletter and do follow us on Twitter, both our LEP and our Growth Hub. Many thanks.
Thank you very much, Jill. As you can see from everything that Jill's been saying, we work really, really well with a range of partners. And we've been doing some incredible work actually in the Marches over the last 5 or so years. Before I hand over or introduce our next speaker, could I please remind you, we would love to have some questions from you about our work or about or some comments from you about what you would like to see going forward. So use the chat box, please do put your questions or comments in there, and we will come to those towards the end of this morning. But what I'd like to do now is introduce to you Mark Pearce, who is the Managing Director of the Enterprise Zone down in Hereford, which was one of the first projects that was actually started by the LEP. I'm really looking forward to going back down there straight after this, this meeting this morning, but I'm going to ask Mark to give you an update about the Enterprise Zone. So over to you, Mark.
Thank you, Mandy. And of course, you'll obey all speed limits to drive all the way down to us in about 2 hours' time. I look forward to seeing you. Thank you very much. Another good year of progress here at Skyline Park. Well over half of the 110 acres at the zone is sold or committed to development. That represents over 61,000 square metres of workspace already constructed or in the pipeline. And total private and public investment stands at over £44 million. This year, the Zone Board is particularly excited that 2 of our most significant projects are nearing completion, and both are only possible because of significant investment from the Marches LEP. First, I'd like to talk about is the Cyber Quarter, the Midlands Centre of Cyber Security. This is being built as a joint venture with the University of Wolverhampton and Herefordshire Council in developing a cybersecurity centre at the South Magazine down at the Zone. This project reflects the strength we've got in the region on cybersecurity. The proximity of GCHQ, Kinetic, and of course the Special Forces in Hereford have led to us being the home for over 70 local companies in the defence and security sector. And we want to build on that strength in cybersecurity in this part of the Marches LEP region. The centre will provide 3 elements: office, workshop, specialist laboratories for tenants, cyber-related companies, up to 16 companies, advanced secure facilities for cyber research and development and commercialisation of intellectual property, and secure training and educational facilities to provide specialist cyber security training for businesses and organisations. The construction is due to finish this week, in fact, and the fit out will be ready in early November. The project team is already piloting services available to businesses, and any business that's interested who's listening, or people who are connected to businesses in the cyber industry, please get in touch with me because, as I said, those services are already being piloted prior to the centre itself being open later in the year. Second project I'd like to draw your attention to is the Shell Store, which represents a refurbishment of an iconic World War I building. It will provide over 2,500 square metres of business incubator and grow-on space. Facilities will include office space to let, conference, seminar and meeting space, hot desking and flexible space, and a cafe and reception. We'll be looking to have a 2-phase opening for that centre. At the beginning of January, we'll open the doors for the first time for business support organisations, notably the Growth Hub and the Zone team itself, and our first business tenants. And then the second phase, at the beginning of April, we'll look to see the full opening of those facilities, including incubation and grow on space, managed by a specialist private sector operator. Again, please contact me if you've got any interest in either of those facilities. And I understand there's a film to bring that the shelf store to life.
Thank you very much, Mark. And if any of you have not actually, or if you'd like to go down and have a look at the whole of the enterprise zone, it is so worthwhile going from what was there 6-7 years ago to what's there now is quite incredible. Very innovative buildings, incredibly innovative businesses, and great partnership between the LEP as the facilitator, but the Herefordshire Council and private sector landowners. A really, really innovative, successful enterprise zone that's brought some incredible businesses into Herefordshire, and we're very proud of it and very proud of the work that Mark and his team have done. So, and I will be looking forward to going down there, as I said before, and I don't break the speed limit, as I know that that's very naughty. So I have the pleasure next of introducing the Deputy Chair of the Marches Local Enterprise Partnership, Sonia Roberts. Many of you will know Sonia from her incredible work with Landau, and the work they do in enabling young people back into work. And Sonia, being the Vice Chair of the LEP, has really strengthened our links with the community and voluntary sector, many of whom are actually very successful enterprises in their own right. So if I can ask Sonia to unmute and welcome her to your meeting.
Thank you, Mandy. Good morning, everyone. It's lovely to be here. Just to give you a little bit of background of some of the work I do on the board. I chair the Performance Review and Monitoring Committee. It's attended by colleagues from the LEP management team, LEP, the local authorities, and fellow board members. It's an important role which uses a risk dashboard and reporting format to deliver progress against each of the LEP's key economic initiatives. As part of our continuous improvement planning, we have revised and updated our risk register. It complies with best practice, and we've undergone an external review and have been rated good. We've refreshed our committee to include 3 new board members, providing a balanced representation across all our sectors. We've developed a pipeline of projects to enable a quick response to funding opportunities, to enhance our region and grow our economy. This can often be challenging because the notice we're given and the time to have projects complete can be extremely challenging. But equally important is my representation of the voluntary sector organisations and my role as their diversity and social inclusion champion. COVID has brought into sharp focus the disparity across the UK and in our communities of the resilient of those furthest from the marketplace in times of crisis. We're keen that an inclusive economy is as important a factor in our economic strategy. It is predicted that more people will struggle with debt, leading to rent arrears and possible homelessness, and less young people will be leaving schools and colleges with apprenticeships or jobs to attend. It's anticipated that 54% of jobs are at risk and the economy will take at least 5 years to recover. This could mean that many people will face long-term unemployment. The challenge going forward post-COVID is going to be a difficult one for business as it is for individuals. Funded through the National Lottery and European Social Funds, voluntary organisations across the Marches have been working together for some time to support people from underrepresented groups who are unemployed and socially isolated. We've helped them engaged in activities that have helped them become more economically active. Projects like these have been able to provide a person-centred approach, helping people achieve and find employment and move out of poverty. We will work to address inequalities by closing the unemployment gap, by removing the barriers which make it difficult for people to take up employment and training opportunities. We will close the gap on skills and education by working closer with employers, local business, education and training institutions to close the gap on average earnings by providing access to higher skilled and jobs. COVID is giving us huge challenges, but within the voluntary sector organisations, we have for some time been helping people through the most difficult of circumstances. This has been achieved through collaboration and working together. The LEP already has an impressive template of how it can bring together local authorities, business and voluntary sectors to achieve outstanding results for our communities and our area. Thank you very much, and I look forward to working with you all in the future.
Thank you so much, Sonia, and it's good to see you. I'd now like to introduce you to James Staniforth, who, as many of you will know, is the Principal Chief Executive of Shrewsbury Colleges Group, but he is also the current chair of the Skills Advisory Panel, or the Marches Skills Advisory Panel, and he's our skills champion. And James is going to tell you a little bit more about what's happening with the Marches Skills Panel. And then after that, we will go into some questions. So please do put some questions into the chat function, and we will have a number of us available to answer. James, over to you, and to learn more about skills across the Marches.
Thank you ever so much, Mandy. Good morning, everybody. So as chair of the Marches Skills Panel, I've got sort of 3 areas that I wanted to update on. So firstly, one of the key roles of the panel is making sure that we provide the deep dive sector information to support the new strategic plan for skills in the Marches. What that means is that sector by sector, we're looking to identify the skills gap, the over and under supply of labour and of training, and to make sure that those that critical synergy takes place, whereby we're making sure that the colleges, the schools, private training providers are supporting the employment needs of the businesses, both now and for sort of the next sort of 5 years. The next phase of that piece of work that we're doing is about looking at how we can put in place collaboration to ensure coverage of the range of skills that's needed by employers across the LEP region. And although that's something that's been an aim over the last couple of years, that work's become far more critical now because of the changing context. What we're seeing is significant increases in unemployment, but particularly youth unemployment.
We've also got disincentives to attend university because of uncertainty regarding teaching and the general experience, which means we've got young people who haven't necessarily progressed on to that next phase of life. Previously, they'd have been able to pick up work in certain sectors, for example, hospitality, whilst they make a determination about what their next steps are. That's obviously far more difficult. And we've also seen a reduction in the number of apprenticeship opportunities in certain sectors, both in areas like hospitality, but also a number of our large levy payers who are not currently in a position to commit to new apprenticeships at the start of this academic year. And we've also got existing apprentices being furloughed and in some cases laid off. So all of that has created a very sharp focus for the work that needs to take place. The second area that the panel focuses on is actually on promoting the range of opportunities which have been made available by government policy and ways in which people are supported, both employers and people looking for work. So at the moment, we're making sure that employers are aware of incentives around taking on apprentices and trainees, the Kickstart scheme to employ 16 to 24-year-old who's on universal credit. And we're also working through gathering information from our area and feeding into to central government to lobby regarding what it would mean in our part of the world if certain tweaks and changes were made to government policy. So, for example, around additional adult funding for level 3 qualifications, we've been lobbying for that to include access to HE routes, particularly around health and care, which are real needs in our part of the world. And we're also continue to provide support for providers through the growth deal. There was some additional growth deal 3 funding which hadn't been allocated earlier in this year, and through the essential process that we go through, which is looking at the data, listening to whether that data fits with what we know on the ground. We're able then to identify projects that will help fill skills gaps, that will help meet employer need, bring those things together in ways which ensure that we can help our economy move forward. What I would say is that although it is a hugely challenging time, I'll just finish with one thing which is a bit more positive. The pandemic has provided unprecedented momentum in developing digital skills, digital delivery and connectivity. And if I think back to February and the flooding and the challenges that brought to education skills training, and now the way in which overnight we had to respond to a remote system of delivery for classroom-based education, but also for apprenticeship training, and about 95% of those engaged in education and training remained engaged through the pandemic. I think it does give us some idea about what Jill started off talking about, which is the fleet-footedness and the ability to adapt of businesses, but also education and training in our part of the world. So thank you ever so much for the opportunity to provide an update, and I'll hand back to you, Jill. Sorry, Mandy.
Thanks so much, James. It's really weird, isn't it, trying to do this remotely where we're all sitting in different parts of the marches. Anyway, thank you. We do have some time now for some questions, and we have had some questions that have been submitted to us. I'm also going to welcome to the panel our 3 business board chairs as well. So we are very lucky that we have 3 really committed individuals who chair their individual business boards. That's Frank Myers in Herefordshire, Paul Bennett in Shropshire, and Paul Hinkins in Telford and Wrekin. And I'm hoping that they do know that they are going to be asked to join us. And I think we're going to go on to gallery view as well, if the technology will work. But the first question, and I think I'll probably come to you, Mark, and maybe you as well, Jill, is a question about the enterprise zone. The question is, the LEP enterprise zone is in Herefordshire, but how does it benefit the rest of the marches? Mark, can I ask you to answer that in the first instance?
Certainly, I can start. Thank you, Mandy. 2 elements to my answer, actually. One, the sector strengths that I briefly referred to in my presentation. The sector strengths of the zone are also the sector strengths of Herefordshire and also the sector strengths of the Marches LEP as a whole. So we're supporting primarily local businesses to grow they grow and have their own supply chains, customer bases, and labour drawing from a much wider area. So a vibrant business community on Rotherwas will help create a more vibrant business community right across the LEP. Second element to my answer is just picking up the Cyber Security Centre, which is coming on board very soon. That facility is aimed at supporting all business in the Marches LEP areas, not just businesses on Rotherwas. So the facilities and services, we want to build a network of business support from that centre, which will be applicable and hopefully made use of by businesses in Oswestry, Shrewsbury, Telford, as well as Hereford itself. There will be businesses in the centre, but most of those facilities and services will be available virtually, and the support will be applied right across, hopefully, the LEP region as we develop those services.
Thanks, Mark. Jill, do you want to come in there?
Yeah, just as a kind of also, this is in the enterprise zone, but has been a catalyst for Wolverhampton University to work across Shropshire, Herefordshire and Telford and Wrekin in relation to that. But it's also been an opportunity for our higher education institutions to come together to work generally in looking at innovation, because it is an area we really need to focus on and developing innovation in our area. So we have used this as a bit of a catalyst to make sure that the campus up at Telford, the University Centre Shrewsbury, the new emerging university as well, Enmite in Hereford, and the University of Wolverhampton with its footprint across Hereford Enterprise Zone now, really are looking together. We bring those people together into one higher education group that is really focusing on what we need to do in developing our innovation. So thank you to all of those institutions in coming forward and helping us take this forward, because it is an area of weakness for the Marches.
Thanks, Jill. We've had another question, which probably is a good segue into us announcing some more about digital. So, Jill, if I can aim this at you and then maybe ask our business board chairs to just put their views forward. The question is, the pandemic has meant that more people are working remotely. But this can be difficult for businesses and their staff due to poor connectivity. What is the plan to address this?
Okay, well, actually, tomorrow we have the launch of our digital strategy that's been worked on very much with the 3 local authorities and other partners that have been investing in the rollout of broadband across our area. And the LEP itself secured to match the funding from the 3 authorities, plus Broadband UK, over 7 million in 2016 to kind of invest across our areas. So that is now taking us up to, I think Telford still has the highest level of connectivity, but it's brought both Shropshire and Herefordshire really up in the area of over 90% connectivity in very short term. So that's great news for us. Perhaps hand over to the business board chairs around whether one of them has a view on the relevance of broadband connectivity and better digital connectivity for their members of their business boards.
Which one of you would like to go first? Paul Bennett, thank you.
Thanks, Mandy. Thanks, Jill. I think first and foremost, we need to acknowledge that we do actually have decent broadband in much of the Marches area. Just for some context, I normally spend my time split between Shropshire and London, and on Chancery Lane in London, I have a slower connection than I do at home in Bellevue in Shrewsbury. So, you know, there is a context there. But of course, once we get out of the major conurbations, we see a real dramatic shortfall in terms of the speeds. And of course, certain areas are almost still very, very much disconnected. But I would say that the digital transformation program that's being proposed, that's being announced tomorrow, the work that's been done over the last 3 or 4 years has helped, but it is an ongoing project, and I would be very, very surprised if there weren't going to be quirks and challenges ahead. But we have to work around those and to look at the emerging technologies that are coming out that will provide some of the solutions to that. But I think it is it's an ongoing issue, and I was certainly, despite what I've said about having better broadband, I was cursing the broadband yesterday trying to watch the England game, despite the fact that I can work from here and have worked from here for 6 months without any problem. So I think, you know, the challenges are still there. They are well known. They are being addressed, but it's a work in progress.
Thanks, Paul. Frank, Paul, Hinkins, is there anything that either of you would like to say? Frank?
Yes, clearly echo all that Paul said. And we've worked very closely over the years with Herefordshire Council, who've made significant investment in this, not just in monetary terms, but in intention. But there are always blank spots, and we're actually encouraging coordinating with the charitable community in Herefordshire, and recently funded a special project where an organisation had invested in their own money, a local district had invested their own money, and we're supporting training now of the people in that area to be able to use it properly. So it's something that's very much on the radar, closely cooperating with the council and coordinating the community.
Thanks, Frank. Paul?
Thank you, Mandy. I obviously agree with the other two chairs. I myself live, sometimes it feels like the middle of a field, but so broadband is very important to me. Interestingly enough, where I personally have benefited is through airband. So that's a whole area that is going to be increasingly used, and indeed it is very reliable. The only other thing I would add is that an awful lot of employees are working from home. They are saving money by doing that, and companies need to make sure that they retain that talent and that you do keep them on your books. So by making sure that they have the accessibility to be able to do exactly that, it also opens up an opportunity, in my mind, for entrepreneurs to actually look at what is required and to increase the digital platforms that we're going to require going forward.
Thanks, Paul. It's a really good message. And actually, we've seen some incredible digital-based companies set up and really thrive through this pandemic. So it's not all been bad news. There's been some really interesting innovation. Sonia, I know you want to come in here.
Yes, thank you, Mandy. If I could just look at it from a practical perspective, we too, I mean, everybody's working from home and we've been quite successful, but it's not so much about the connectivity, it's the demand on internet access that has been the problem that we've found, and it will probably account for why Paul wasn't able to download his football streaming. But what we've noticed, there are particular periods of time when there's a huge demand and the connectivity starts to falter. So there's some practical things that we do. I think working from home has to come hand in glove with flexibility, and there are certain points where connectivity rates are better than other points. So as an employer, you know, you might want to consider the flexible approach to the hours that people work, so as you can minimize the risk of, we refer to it as outage, it's when the demand's so high. And there's also maps that you can go on to have a look at what the connectivity is like across the UK. We also find that very useful because it gives you, you know, information as to whether or not it's just an internal problem or actually if it's a UK demand problem. So just a couple of practical things for people working from home and maybe considering flexible working to resolve some of the issues around connectivity.
Thanks, Sonia. And actually that whole the bandwidth issue is a major concern around health and social care. And as we start to see more use of video diagnostics, of remote monitoring of individuals, we need to make sure that we don't just have broadband, but we actually have the bandwidth of that broadband, and we have greater availability of dedicated lines that businesses can access. That's not always been the case, but we're on that. We know that that's needed. There are quite a lot of comments coming through now within the chat box, which is great. We do have another question, which I will aim at Jill to begin with, and then come to, I think, all of the the board members to support. But before I do that, I just wanted to highlight Jill has put something in the chat box, and that is absolutely remiss of myself and Jill, that Harper Adams are very, very much involved, and we have a local enterprise partnership higher education group that includes Harper Adams, the University of Wolverhampton, University Centre Shrewsbury, and the new model of innovation technology, NMITE in Herefordshire, but we'll come to that maybe in a short while. But our next question, the vast majority of businesses have been adversely affected by the lockdown. How is the LEP working to support the economy and our recovery efforts? So over to you, Jill, and then the rest of the panel for that.
Just quickly, obviously I highlighted in one of my slides that we have taken steps to do some immediate action in relation to the immediate impact, and the LEP board was able to release 1.58 million for grants that were distributed via the 3 local authorities in their areas, which I think was timely, and that matched the government funding that was going into supporting or supported the similar different businesses that had been assisted by the government. My plan is that going forward, and it's very much taking forward an event we're planning to have later this week in our recovery summit, is to start collating the evidence base, review our SEP, our economic plan, and our local industrial strategy draft that is available, and really pull together any new initiatives and ideas from the business boards, from the business community that could really help that. So we're working on that proposal over the next month or two to again make the case. We know some areas already have put submissions into government, but I think now with the COVID coming back again, we really need to revisit that and look at what are the challenges and put that forward, hopefully before Christmas, if not in the new year, to government on the initiatives and the investment we require to take us forward.
Thanks, Jill. Is there anything that anybody else? I've been made aware of the time, and we are very keen to finish at 9. Any other comment? Any comment? Yeah, Paul.
Thank you, Mandy. What I'd like to say, if I may, and I'm sure I speak on behalf of the other 2 business board chairs, being chair, it's about listening to our board members from the private sector about the difficulties that they continue to experience as a result of COVID. We've collected a lot of data, which we obviously share with the LEP board, our individual data from the business boards, and that's extremely useful. But what we are very mindful of now is what we're going to do about it, the recovery phase, and that's really important. It's about thinking about what opportunities potentially are out there in what is a very difficult situation, but people are very despondent, and I think we need to start to turn our minds, if we possibly can, to being more positive, so that we can use that entrepreneurship that we have within the Marches to actually get ourselves, dig our way out of this dreadful situation that we're in.
Thanks, Paul, and that's actually a very good segue into me winding up this meeting. I know, Sonia, you wanted to comment on Richard's point about mental health, but I'm very mindful of the time, so I'm going to move us on, if I may, and just very much say a huge thank you to everybody who's been attending this virtual meeting. First one that we've done with so many people, but it's been really interesting to hear from our panelists. My thanks to them and the LEP team. But what I want to say is that, as you know now, this is the first event in our Marches Business Recovery Week. It's a LEP initiative. It is here to try and make sure that we can focus this week on unveiling the new digital strategy for our region. We're going to have an intensive focus on skills and training, and on Thursday afternoon, a major economic recovery summit that brings together all the region's business groups and partners to map out the road ahead for the region. We know we need to rebuild our business community for the future, and as Paul has said, we need to now be taking the advantage of the changes that the 6 months has brought, but also to support businesses to go forward. We know that things are not going to necessarily return to the way they were, but we want to do everything in our power to bring people and groups together to plan for our future in this new world. That's why the launch of our digital strategy is so important. We need to make sure that we have the technological infrastructure in place which supports all the changes to our working habits, and it allows us all to thrive in the new digital environment. We will also continue to place a huge emphasis on skills so that everybody has the resources that they need to make the most of their potential. We do not want to see any part of our local community left behind in this new world. We need to make sure that skills provision is aligned to the needs of our business. That's why the work that James and the Skills Advisory Panel does is so important. And as I've said, our Marches Economic Recovery Summit on the 15th will bring together everybody that we work with, the Chambers of Commerce, the business boards, the small business groups, farming representatives, skills, training, education providers, and our local authority partners to chart a route which will help drive our region towards the prosperity that all of our communities deserve. We will be bringing together all the talents in this region in this way so we can deliver a united, comprehensive plan for the future. And really importantly, we can lobby government most effectively for the resources that we need to deliver it. I hope that the week will demonstrate that despite everything that's going on, all of us within the LEP are absolutely committed to taking the steps now which will help all of our communities over the coming years. Again, I want to say a massive thank you to all the speakers today, to Amy Bold and her team at Be Bold Media for making this come together, and in particular for our LEP team behind the scenes who've done so much to make this possible. And most importantly, for all of you for attending and sharing your questions. Follow us on social media channels, please. Sign up for our newsletter and look out for future events, and have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you very much.